Let's get you the markets update now, and local trade will be chasing lost gains today after a muted session on Monday. The index falling about 0.9% yesterday, tracking a cautious sentiment across the global markets. This as the focus turned to a string of central banks' policy meetings with this week, in fact. Those are expected, including that of the U.S. Federal Reserve. Head of Equity Research at FNB Wealth and Investments is Chantal Marx, joining us now to give us a sense of how things are shaping up at the JSE. Chantal, good morning to you, and thank you for your time. Let's begin with that quick overview of how the markets are faring in early trade.
Well, it's been up and down so far. I mean, we've only had about half an hour of trading, but we already see a zigzag on that JSE All-Share Index line. And that is in line with global markets that is exhibiting a lot of uncertainty ahead of the U.S. Fed's rate decision due out tomorrow. I think we also have several other central banks due out with rate decisions this week, including the South African Reserve Bank. So it's quite natural for markets to struggle for direction. We also have the rand a little bit weaker today, so that is offering some support for those big rand hedges and perhaps counterweighting some of the weakness that we're seeing elsewhere, particularly among the commodity producers.
Oil prices rising to 10-month highs. What's driving those moves?
It's been quite an interesting ride for oil prices, and over the last week or so, we've had quite heavy news flow. In particular, we had a report out from OPEC Plus saying that oil supplies are going to be a lot tighter than what was anticipated a few months ago. They said that global growth is holding up better than expected, and of course, we know that Saudi Arabia and Russia have been cutting production. So that, because you have lower supplies and the possibility of higher than expected demand, that is placing upward pressure on oil prices. I think what's going to be very important over the next 2 days are some stock data out of the US in terms of their crude oil reserves, and I think that will probably give us better direction or better sense of direction over the next week or two.
Let's quickly launch into company news. And Thungela Resources water use license rejected in the interest of protecting farming and water resources at its coal-rich asset, which is on the border of Gauteng and Mpumalanga. Is this the end of the road, or can the mine still explore other avenues?
They did say that they are going to take it on appeal, but they'll have to get into a judicial appeal now. So it's going to the High Court. It's quite an interesting story because we've also seen similar rejections of kind of relaxation on emission standards at Sasol, for example. It seems as if South Africa is getting a lot more strict in terms of the transition that we are taking into a cleaner energy environment longer term. So what the court will have to decide is whether or not a colliery in that Springs area is going to bring more benefit to the community and won't have as adverse impact on the environment as what the department and the water authorities are suggesting, because it's an agriculture-rich area. So for years and years and years, you can go on farming. And while I think that the colliery will probably bring kind of shorter-term higher wages and perhaps economic opportunities in that region, I think the longer-term impact is what is now being discussed.
Yeah, and water resources of crucial importance, particularly when we hear so many challenges related to water, clean access to water by residents. Let's tackle this final one. Attack and the Government Employees Pension Fund closing a 2.7 billion rand deal. This is to fund the Waterfall City Development Pipeline in Midrand. Chantal, talk us through the specifics of this deal.
Yes, so this was announced a few months ago, and the market really liked it. The tax share price rallied quite strongly as a result. And what basically is going to happen is the government employee pension fund will have a 30% stake in the waterfall development, and that 2.7 billion rand injection will allow ATTAC to continue developing that node, and it will also result in their balance sheet looking better. So it will free up capacity for them to take on further debt in order to continue with their development activities. It also gives us a sense of what the value of waterfall is, and that I think is what the market really liked about this deal.
Very interesting indeed. Thank you very much for that markets update. Chantal Marx is the head of equity research at FNB Wealth and Investments.